one of the great things that which I suppose make it very relevant is the fact that we as individuals or as a species evolved, in completely different environment to what our environment is here today. And what was before, the environment was very uncomfortable. We had to hunt for food, or pick up berries, or do hunting and gathering, and that discomfort and making mistakes and evaluating and reflecting, it was the kind of mechanisms that enable us to survive. If something didn't work here, in this placement or this location, then we have to migrate to another place. That's why we kind of spread all over the world.
Of course.
Of course, this is like huge oversimplification, but I think it does demonstrate the point. And I suppose this kind of has been somewhere lost nowadays, that ability to look internally and examine how we feel and what sort of what people we are, and the ability to raise hands and say, like, we make mistakes. I don't feel that we sometimes connect those dots, like it's and I don't know whether this is something dominant in the Western culture, that it's all about the power and wealth and dominance and being strong, and no matter what I need to achieve, and whether that had this kind of impact on us to lose that compassion towards ourselves. And if we adopt that compassionate point of view and say, okay, I made a mistake, or I act up based on best evidence available at the time of making that decision, and it didn't work out the way I intended, and you know what, I've learned from it, and now I can change my behavior. It's the feedback rather than failure. And I suppose this is like great school or of thought that we can teach our kids, like, the failure is just the feedback, if we rephrase that.
Yes, absolutely. I really agree with what you're saying there. I think as individuals, as the years have gone on, the decades, the centuries, the change in the gap between our ideology, our reality of how we are as individuals, what we do with our lives, how we are as parents, that gap is bigger between that ideology, that reality, and our expectations. So it's ensuring that we allow ourselves to adapt. And I think one of the elements of why things have changed for me, and just adding to what you're saying there, Karol, is that we have lost a lot of our tribe, our ability to connect with people. Families live far away. So the social networks, if you like, are shrinking and getting smaller and smaller. Of course, we've got social media, so it looks like they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But of course, it's not the same depth of connection. And I think that means that we definitely build these unrealistic expectations of ourselves, and that is then transposed onto children, whether we actually say you need to be bigger, better, stronger, more powerful, whatever, whether it's an explicit message or just implicitly constantly saying, you need to be something that creates a dent out there. Whereas we as people, as individuals, and our children as well, we create a dent just by being here. And that's a good dent, by the way. We influence by being here. We don't have to be the president or the prime minister of a country or the CEO of a large corporate business to actually make a real difference in the world and to be the best people that we can be. And so I think we really need to lessen that gap again, particularly in the Western society. But I think even non-Western cultures are catching up, and catching up fast.
Yeah.
So we just need to bring it down to that reality again of where we are in society, and build meaningful networks is really important.